Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update from Silver Tigre Metals. Silver Tigre is traded on the TSX.V under the ticker SLVR and on the OTCQX under the ticker SLVTF. And I'm joined today with the president and CEO of Silver Tigre Metals, Glenn Jessome. And Glenn, it's great to get you on here to kick off 2025. We always like to do this at the beginning of the year and just take a quick look back at 2024, the year before, at the key milestones, some of the key initiatives the company had, and then we'll dive into this year. So when you look back at 2024, I guess the two big things that come to mind, Glenn, are the resource update and the PFS. Why don't you walk us through what happened in 2024 at the Tigre?
Shad, thank you very much. It's great to chat here early in 2025. And first of all, I hope you had a fantastic Christmas with your family and Happy New Year. We're looking forward to a big 2025 for El Tigre and for Mexico. So, yeah, 2024 was not a year that we did not do some very substantial and subsequential things at El Tigre. We like to do, I think it's really important, do what you say you're going to do. We told everybody that year we would drill on the open pit to finish it, stop drilling underground, as you know, the high grade. Talk about that in a bit for 2025. And, the team was fantastic. All of the different drilling, when you think about the metallurgical and the geotechnical and the resource to get that PFS ready, it's a lot of work. All the metallurgical work that goes into it, all the engineering work that goes into it, all the quoting that goes into it. It's a massive, it's like a business plan to build a mine. And we're just talking about the open pit. So, for the team to come out and do two things. First of all, deliver an updated MRE in 2024, call it 100 million silver equivalent ounces in the pit, over 100 million in the underground. That's the second part of the project. Very, very happy to have had our team, and it's about the team, that technical team we've had down there in Mexico with our new additions working for over 20 years. Boy, are they good at what they do, and they delivered that. And then the PFS. I mean, as far as money in, value out, as far as a return for the company, which is a return for shareholders, we couldn't have asked for a more robust pre-feasibility study on that open pit. I'm not going to get into all of the numbers, the wows, hows, and whys, but when you look at that report, which we've gone through many times in interviews, many times I've told the shareholders about it, when you've got almost $250 million USD NPV for an 89 million USD investment, and those are at, remember, 21.50 gold and $26 silver. When you think about where we are on a spot price, that's almost $350 million NPV, makes incredible amount of money. 318 basically after tax free cash flow over the 10-year mine life at study prices at spot, well over 400, almost $500 million. So an incredible asset. We can't wait to build it. We are working very, very hard. We'll talk a little bit about, what's the next. We'll talk about that for 2025. But, we've been working not just to get this business plan, this PFS on the table, but now we have to say, okay, we're expecting permits to come in 2025. We need to be ready. That means I need the money to build it. So I've been working very hard with all of the lenders. That doesn't start the day the PFS is over. That started at the beginning of 2024 to get to indicative term sheets so that I can borrow that money or make that money available with lending and some equity, that when the permit comes, it's time for that build team led by Francisco Albalez to say, let's go get this done. 18 months, it says in the PFS, we'll have that thing built. We think we might be able to pare that down a little bit. No promises on that, but we're very excited about that milestone. People don't understand, Shad. 1 in 1,000 resource companies get to this stage to be able to say, we've got a commercial project we can build that's going to make a lot of money, that's economical, that you think you can finance. So big accomplishment. And, we're just going to pick it up and start running with the ball again in 2025. Last thing in 2024, and I don't know, maybe some people didn't really see this that we had done, but remember, I've always said Open pit, door number one, ready to build. Door number two is the underground. Big, big, big. Already 113 million silver equivalent ounces underground. We're going to keep adding to that. We started adding to that in December because we did announce that we resumed drilling the high grade. People love high grade. I hated to stop drilling that high grade a year and a half ago to finish off the open pit and the PFS. That's a big, big undertaking. But boy, we're back drilling, and not only drilling, we've turned 600 meters hole from surface into that shale, that sulphide, and that vein, all of it very high grade silver and gold from underground. So we've turned 600-meter holes into 200-meter holes, or even less than that. And those drills turned all through December, took a little Christmas break. They will start turning again this week. First high grade silver and gold results from those holes that were done in December. You should see them in January. So that's how we're going to end off 2024 and transition right into 2025.
Well, it's fantastic, Glenn, and I appreciate you breaking down all the work that the team did and all the different moving parts to get to that PFS on the open pit portion. Now, a lot of people, to your point, are probably more excited about these high grade underground silver, but let's not lose track of the fact that the PFS you put out on the open pit was fantastic. And as you pointed out, at current metals prices, because it has more of a gold forward nature to it, the open pit portion, it's got fantastic sensitivities to spot prices where they're at, but it also very defensive even at lower prices. So big accomplishment for 2024. But of course, you're not going to stop moving. And if you hit the ground in 2024, drilling the underground areas, those high grade veins, the sulphide, the shale, that does get investors juiced up because it is Silver Tiger. And there's a lot of silver in the depths there. Walk us through the plan for this year to eventually build towards a PEA on the underground.
Very well said, Shad. And you know, for many, 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 many projects, the vast majority of them, and just not speaking against my peers, having just that pit, that's a company maker. You could build around that and have a wonderful resource focused mining in production company that makes, I mean, I think we make about 50 million USD after tax free cash flow a year over the life of that open pit. That's incredible. It's US amount of money, but that's just door number one. So we're not just going to sit around and say, okay, well, let's wait for our permit later this year. Let's get that built. You got to look at the big picture. We don't stop. We don't stop. That's why we're right back to work underground. So what you're going to see is that one drill rig that's going to start turning again this week from underground, drilling the underground. And you've seen lots of press releases and photos of that. Steady, high grade gold and silver results. People like that in a good market. For us as miners, it is always a means to an end. It's more ounces, it's more inferred moving to indicated, moving to measured, so that you actually can convince the lenders to give you the money to go get it, then you make a lot of money. So that is why we're doing it. But it's going to be great to have those high grade results. The investors love them. High grade silver and gold in a world where we think the price is going to keep on going up just because of pure demand for both, a great thing to have. Now, what's that going to lead to? That's going to lead to another document, another start of the business plan of how you're going to basically build that underground mine. And so in the first half of 2025, the shareholders can expect the next business plan to start. I'm using that word because PEA, people hear PEA, what's that? A PEA. Well, it's a business plan. It's really what it is. It's a detailed business plan that keeps getting at every step completely de-risked with more and more tests and more data put to it, that this is what it's going to look like when you build this underground mine. First step will be the PEA, the preliminary economic assessment. First half of 2025, you're going to see that. We're going to match it up to the 800 ton per day mill, which we already have bought, which is on site in the mountain, which we also have the 800 ton per day underground permit matched up to as of right. So that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to try as hard as I can to basically get that finished as early as I can in the first half of this year. Look, would I like to say 6 months and do it in 4? Sure, I would. But let's just say 6 and see how we can pull that together. What people don't understand, though, everybody thinks there's stops and starts. There's never a stop and start. I'm going to deliver the PEA that's going to be for the underground. We started that 2 years ago, Shad. We started that with the engineering. That's how long these things take. We started that with all the metallurgical work. We started that with more and more drilling. And fine-tuning this thing. So now we get to the point where in the first 6 months of this year, you're gonna see that, but we've been working on that for 2 years. And we're gonna get some more drill results in there, and we're excited to bolt that on. And then you're gonna see what has always been the big mine districts in Mexico, that flowering epithermal. People have seen me talk about it so many times. The top of the flower is that big open pit. Easier, generates great cash flow from lower capex. That cash flow drives the underground development, and then you go underground chasing not only in many cases we always in Mexico narrow vein silver. Remember, we have wide zones epigenetic to the veins of the shale, and that new sulphide zone, which we can't wait to get those first results out on that in a couple of weeks here in January. So that's where we're going for first half, and not saying waiting, but remember, what's going to get bolted right on top of this is at some point in 2025, we think earlier than most think, we're going to get that permit. Drilling's not going to stop. We're going to keep driving ahead with that PEA. We're going to keep drilling that underground because that's the next act. But then as soon as we get that permit, I'm going to work real hard this first quarter to all of these conversations I've been having for more than a year with the lenders to provide that capex to build, get that all bolted up and polished up so that when we get that permit, we hit the ground running and we start building that open pit, which is going to completely transform this company from what was an exploration company, became a development company that becomes the next great silver producer. So, it takes a long time. We're 7 or 8 years at this, making no apologies to anyone who's listening, since we got Tigre and moved it this far. On average, it's 14 to 17 years from first drill hole to producing mine. So we're ahead of the curve, and we're going to keep on moving ahead of the curve. So that's really what we're looking at in 2025. It's business as usual. We're hoping and getting ready to make a construction decision on that pit while we continue to explore underground.
Well, it's going to be an exciting year for the company. Catalyst rich, a lot of news flow on tap. As soon as January, with some of these drill results that start coming back in and building towards the economic study on the underground, waiting on the permit, but once it hits, it's go time. You're lining up the capital. I think a lot of people can see the political changes happening in Mexico, but I guess just as we wrap up, Glenn, give us a look ahead as to what you see as far as the lay of the land in Mexico for silver mining, for silver itself. What trends do you see for 2025 with your peers? And then how does Silver Tiger stand out from the masses?
So you're making me reflect a little bit with that question, because I'm just going back to January now in my mind, last year, a year ago, and how much more positive things, and just talking on the political front, because we could not have done any better with El Tigre than we did. And we're talking about AMLO's reign or AMLO's presidency. That's 6 years. We had Tigre basically during his full reign. That's what we got a little before that. And we raised, over $100 million. Most of that all bought deal financing, smartest institutions in the world. And we got the project ready to build and the underground ready for PEA. Unbelievable. He slowed us down. He did not stop us. He made me raise capital at a little lower valuation than I would have wanted to. But guess what? That's the way it was. So I'm sitting there last January, knowing what we were going to do this year, but it was a dark time. The press are the press. AMLO was a person who basically really messaged every morning, as you know, his thoughts on the world. Some people, new politicians, they do tweets. He would do a morning press conference every day. And so a lot of the messaging the year before that, but during his last 6 or 7 months, or 8 months in power, I mean, it was dark as far as mining. There was a lot of thought that there would be mining in Mexico was dead. There would be no open pit mines. That was not good, since I was getting ready to build an open pit mine, and it was very negative sentiment. But we knew, logically, I knew that mining in Mexico really doesn't work without open pits. And it is such a massive part of their economy that no one would really just make it go away. It would make no sense. So when I see where we are today, it's like a totally different world, Shad. You started to see some of the things that I kept talking about in the dark half of 2024 as far as what was going to happen and defending our position. I mean, how many times was I not only asked, well, do you think that open pits will be banned? I was told by many smart people interviewing me, they were already banned. None of that had happened. So it was a tough time, but we were right. And we saw change under the Claudia Scheinbaum, the new president, immediately. I'm not going to go through all the details. You've heard them from me before. It was getting better. Well, it's gotten so much better now that if you looked at the end of last year from where the press was, it not was basically was were there going to be underground permits or were there going to be open pit permits? It was just a matter of now, when are they going to be issued? And basically, we think that in this quarter, early this year, and I want to box myself into a quarter, we're going to see not only underground permits, but we're going to see open pit permits. And, there's $6 billion of investment on the sidelines waiting, ready to go for mining projects in Mexico. That's a big number. And we think that at the end of the day, business is about business and that money is going to get invested in Mexico and we're going to ride that wave. And, that's very exciting. Details, if anyone wants details on every appointment, every decision, every press release, everything that she said through the fall that led us to where we are now, go watch some of my videos. We don't have time for that. I got 15 or 20 of them probably on the website under investors, CEO interviews. You can go look at them if you want all the details. But we couldn't be happier about the first 4 or 5 months that the new administration has been basically in power. We're very excited about what this year holds. We're very excited about the value proposition for our company. At where we're valued right now, Shad, do I think we're going to get the first permit? No, no. Do I think we're going to get a permit? Yes. But what I really like is the re-rating opportunities. We've seen some of that re-rating through the fall, a little bit. People got their toe in the water. Okay, Mexico's coming back. It's coming up a little bit. The first permit that gets issued, underground, open pit, doesn't matter. There's going to be a re-rating of Mexico. That's the trade here. People listening to this, they should say, it's just, I'm not going to have to do anything. I've done everything I needed to do over the last 7 years to be ready for what I think is coming. So I think there's a re-rating on an underground permits. I think there's re-ratings when the first open pit permits come. And then we're going to get our permit. And we're going to basically get building. And it's going to be an exciting time. We're very, very pleased, very comfortable, very happy with the change in the political environment from January of last year. It's just an incredible transformation.
All right, Glenn. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there for today. And to your point, we've had some great discussions in the past where we took a deep dive in Mexico, where we took a deep dive into the PFS, and where we took a deep dive into the underground. And this was just a nice way to sew it all together to kick off the year. But there's going to be a lot of news flow coming out of Silver Tiger. So for people listening in, if you want to follow along with all that news, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the Silver Tiger website, straight to their news section where you can sign up for updates or just follow along as the news hits the wires. Glenn, I'm sure we're going to be getting you back on quite often to discuss all the different catalysts for the company. And as always, looking forward to our next conversation.
Chad, thank you very much. And that's a great point. I mean, we've got through that year-end tax selling, we've got fresh look. Those that are looking for silver opportunities, I think they need to be looking to Mexico. We all know how much of the world's silver production comes out of Mexico, 25%. So if you like silver, look at Mexico, look at Silver Tiger, and look at the transformation when permits start coming. So, we're a Canadian-based company. We're our capital raising arm and management, a little bit of it's here in Canada, but we're a Mexican company. And 95% of our employees are Mexican. So we list in Canada on the TSX.V under SLVR. But basically, when you go and for the American audience, which is one that I really have been trying to get more in touch with, because I think that they are going to have a great interest in silver as the year evolves. We trade on the OTCQX at SLVTF, and I urge anyone, take a look at this company, and I think it's the right time to invest.